What is going on, everybody? Shane Sams here from the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast and flippedlifestyle.com, and I'm super excited to bring you an interview today with my and Jocelyn's money team, our power money team, Jessica Stafford and Marilyn Parham from ProfitHero365.com. They are our actual accounting team and bookkeeping team. They have an awesome accounting firm called The Bottom Line. And they have been helping us manage our money, control our money, and make good decisions in our business now for almost 6 years. They are an amazing, amazing group of people, and they are the only people we really trust in these crazy times for money advice. Now, the reason Jessica and Marilyn are on the show today is because they are on top of this stimulus package that just passed to help everybody through the COVID outbreak. And the stimulus package that was just passed is really focused on business owners, entrepreneurs, small businesses to help us get through these crazy times. The government is asking us to stay home, to close our businesses, to do this and to do that, and they have passed a stimulus package that is going to help us all maintain the DNA of our business over the next few months and to help us help our employees, not just our W-2 employees, but also our 1099 contractors, and help us to keep the doors open, to keep the economy moving so that we can all ride out this crazy storm together. Now, Marilyn and Jessica and their team have been poring over the legislation. This is a huge bill. There's a lot to it, and they are going to help us understand some of the key provisions that can help entrepreneurs and business owners today. They're going to tell us about EIDL insurance, the emergency plan that's going to give you instant cash if you need something to help you keep your business going. They're also going to talk about the payroll protection plan, which is a huge, 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 amazing piece of legislation for entrepreneurs and small business owners right now. That's going to give you money up to 2.5 months of payroll so that you can keep your people paid, you can keep your business going, and you can keep your business growing in these crazy times. This is available for everybody. We've all got to pay attention and learn about this and take advantage of it. So Jessica and Marilyn are going to go through today everything they know about the bill so far. They're going to tell you what to do, and they're going to give you some resources that are going to help you and your business in the next few months. I want to stress again, guys, this is a 100% Shane and Jocelyn trusted source of information. This is our actual source. These are the people we are going to right now when we have questions about the taxes, about these programs, about our business. Jessica and Marilyn are not just accountants. They have their hands in every part of the economy. They own restaurants. They are in e-commerce. They help dozens and dozens of people who have Amazon businesses. They have their own membership site, and they have their own online business too. So they're content creators. They really know what's going on. They see dozens of businesses from all over the country and do their taxes. And they are the people that we are trusting with this information. Now, this all happens on April 3rd. That's when you can start applying for the payroll protection program. So you really need to listen to this entire episode today. If you pay anybody, W-2, 1099, even yourself, you have got to listen to what's going on today. Our goal is to make your business survive and thrive and grow over the next few months, and to make sure your company keeps its DNA through these incredible, incredible worldwide events. And Marilyn and Jessica are going to help you do that. They have created a resource at ProfitHero365.com/COVID, COVID. That's Profit, Profit, Hero, Hero, 365.com/COVID, COVID. If you go to ProfitHero365.COVID right now, they are updating this information on a daily basis. Everything is changing on a daily basis, guys. Even the banks are not really sure what's going on yet, and they're the ones that are going to be giving out the money. So you want to make sure you go check that resource out, and you're checking it every day for news and updates from Marilyn and Jessica. So without further ado, guys, I'm going to play the interview. Please share this with every business owner you know, every entrepreneur you know. If you know anyone that pays someone else, brick and mortar or online business, they need to hear today's chat with Marilyn and Jessica, and they are going to help us all get through these crazy times. So enjoy the interview. If you need anything, we'll be over at flippedlifestyle.com, and I'll be back here after the interview with a little closing word. 3, 2, 1. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flipped Lifestyle Virtual Summit, or you might be listening to this on the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast, because I'm going to broadcast and air this interview today everywhere that I can. I am super excited to announce my two very good friends are on the interview today. They are our Power Money team. This is our actual accounting team from the Bottom Line. My guests today are Jessica Stafford and Marilyn Parham. Marilyn,
yay!
What's going on? How y'all doing today?
I'm good.
Yeah.
We're good.
Are you surviving?
We're thinking up in the down times. That's what we're doing.
That's exactly right. We're trying to bring some light in the darkness today.
It's going to be different, but it's going to be okay.
That's exactly right. We were talking about name pronunciations before we came on air today, guys, and I was telling Marilyn, I said, you know, we mispronounce names all the time. If you were in Southeast Kentucky, Maryland, you would be a medieval wizard, because we'd be like, Merlin, hey Merlin, what are you doing over here? You know what I mean? But all right, seriously, all right, back right here. Let's talk money. So the reason that I had to have you guys come on and talk is because so much is happening in the world with the economy, and especially taxes. And now we're seeing stimulus from the government to help all of us through these crazy times, business owners. So if you could, guys, tell everybody a little bit about who you guys are and what you do first. And then we're going to talk about how the tax code is being affected, how taxes are being affected, and also how business owners can take advantage of some of these stimulus programs. But tell everybody a little bit about you guys first.
Marilyn, you go ahead first, and I'll bring us on home.
We're the Bottom Line. We provide accounting, business support, taxes, generally everything you need for your small business. Mm-hmm. We cater to e-commerce and online businesses, and try to help, right now, just the navigation of these down times in the COVID-19 crisis. So we're looking forward to try to give you the information that we've come across and really dug into and learned over the last few days. And Jessica can expound more on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and kind of how we do this as a team around the Bottom Line CPA is we have support for DIYers through our Profit Hero program. We have support for your taxes inside of our Digitax Pro brand. And then the Bottom Line CPA brings that Profit First strategic advisory accounting services. But what we really have been scrambling to do with the climate that we're in and the pending recession that we're moving into is basically how to shine some light in the darkness, give people hope where they need it, and also resources on how to navigate all the different decisions that they need to be making right now, because it's very overwhelming. Things are changing by the hour and by the day. And, the best that we feel like we can do is to help people get armed basically with a plan on what things they could and should consider, how to make sense of the economic injury disaster loan through the SBA if you're a small business, what it means to you if you're a self-employed individual, and also protecting you and your family, and if you have employees, their safety and things like that, and how to ride this out together, basically.
I love it. I just want to say, too, before we get started, I don't know how long we've known each other now, but
2014.
2014. There we go.
John Lee Dumas's
webinar. We met. I was in a car driving to Atlanta with Jocelyn, which is an amazing memory now, because we're not allowed to drive in cars or leave the state anymore. And we met, and you guys have been in our life like ever since. And you are an incredible blessing and my trusted source for all things taxes, accounting, and Profit First. So I just want to tell you guys that too.
To us, because you're helping us flip our life with our own membership community, and you're always bringing the marketing heat.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We did 150 new members in the Flip Your Life community in the last 5 days, baby.
Yeah.
That's how you bring the marketing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So we learned just as much from you, and we get a lot of personal value from this friendship as well. So thank you.
Awesome. All right. So let's jump in here, and we're going to help everybody kind of navigate these crazy waters right now. So let's take the loan part away right now. Let's talk about taxes first, because I'm in all my masterminds. This is a huge topic right now. So far, they've moved the date back to like what, July? Is it July?
15th.
July 15th instead of April 15th. So what does that mean for me as a business owner? Should I wait to file my taxes. I've heard some of my friends be like, I'm just going to take the penalty and hold on to my cash as long as possible because I don't know what's happening. Like what is the proper way for a business owner right now to respond to these changes that are happening with the tax dates?
I'll let you open this up, Marilyn.
Absolutely. Of course, the deadline has been pushed back, not only for filing, but for payment until July 15th. But we really want to advise everybody listening not to wait till July to start preparing their taxes. It's a gift to be able to extend your payment for that amount of 3 months time frame, but you really need to get your taxes done soon, so at least you know what you're trying to make a plan for.
Yeah.
So I really strongly encourage, it's for your benefit, not to wait to start putting your taxes together until late June or early July.
Yeah.
Do it now.
And let me kind of put a premise behind that. Like, one of the first things that we're really trying to come into anybody we're having a conversation with, the first thing is we cannot let our strategic mindset go because we're in the middle of something disruptive.
Amen. True.
We cannot let strategy go.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't necessarily wait. We need to be able to respond. There's still a truth behind put your past behind you. If you wait to file that tax return, you're just delaying and keeping the past in front of your now and in front of your future. And like Marilyn said, they've given us the grace and the gift of, hey, get your taxes filed. The reason why they did that is because the accountants were feeling a lot of pressure because we were in a season of people really haven't been rushing to get anything done this year, even before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It was all over the news, like the filings were down and things like that. And so imagine that you have to get a 90% of your workload done in 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it was a little bit of like, let's let some steam out of the pot, because the first step was we're going to extend the payment, but not the filing deadline. And then it was the filing deadline. So we would just advocate, please consider trying to do your best to get your taxes filed by April 15th or at least around April 15th. No one wants to be doing taxes in the summer, not even the business owner.
Well, it's also going to back everything up too, because okay, so one thing that we are stressing, I do think it's a weird paradox and a balance right now of, okay, I have to take my life day by day because things are very stressful, more stressful and more anxious than normal. But life is going to go on. This too shall pass, and there will be a way out of this. And if you're waiting 4 or 5 months to handle all your business than normal, guess what, guys? 2021 is going to be here too, and you're going to be 4 months behind forever if you don't get caught up,
And they're really just trying to give us a little bit of runway to kind of make the right call. But then on the financial element, the payment deadline to July 15th also extended to the first quarter estimated tax payment, but they've not yet extended the June 30th estimated tax payment yet.
So you could end up doing both at once if you're not careful, right?
Yeah.
Like all of it just falling.
If you owe tax, you still owe tax. At some point, you're going to have to pay in. Right now, you get the flexibility of delaying that payment so that we can kind of keep the economy swimming and going so we don't take a deeper dive. So you've got to still plan for that payment and that thing that's going to happen. And that's why you can't lose that strategic mindset, and you can't lose the self-care routines that you've put in place for yourself, and just keep trying your best to make the right call with the information that you have with a forward-thinking kind of eye. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. Yeah. Because I mean, I know that I feel the tendency to, I don't have to worry about that for a while, right? But the people like you guys do have to worry about it because you have to still do all the same amount of taxes, right? And we have to remember, like we have a personal relationship, and I talk to you guys one-on-one, but I have to remember too, but you guys have other people that you're talking to. And just because you're putting it off for 3 months doesn't mean your accountant is. They can't, so we all need to be able to do this. And I just want to get it over with myself. Let's know what's going on.
I think the real truth behind what you just said there, Shane, is we're only going to get through this if we get through it together. And if we do kind of have an others first mindset versus a self first mindset, really think about the big picture and the impact, and then make a decision from that position.
Yeah.
What can we do to help the process all the way down the line, including yourself, not creating stress for yourself in the middle of summer.
Yeah.
So,
which is going to be stressful enough because all of our children are at home. So
yeah.
And they have been and will be for 6 months. Hey, Marilyn, let me ask you my question again about the my buddy. So take my buddy's maybe fearful statement, but somewhat in his mind strategic statement of, dang, man, I think I might just take the penalty and hold on to my money even past the date. You know what I'm saying? And I guess that the fear part of him is like, well, I want my cash. And if I can't pay the taxes later, I'll deal with it. But, right now the stock market's crashed, but the real economy is going to be felt when the 15 to 20% of unemployment hits in a month and cash starts coming out of the system. Is that a smart thing to do? Is that not a smart thing to do? It's a tempting thing to do when you've got a pile of cash that you save for taxes. But what's the right thing to do? Just pay it, get it over with, and move forward? Or is it okay to hold on to that cash past the dates?
I really think this is the strategic mind that you have to keep in front of you. Like, it differs from individual to individual. It really depends on what your individual situation is. Don't immediately go just from a emotional reaction to I'm gonna stockpile my money because I don't know what the future holds. Okay, we really hope, and this too shall pass. So the economy is going to pick back up. It's just a matter of when. So you're still going to owe those taxes. You really kind of need to get all your numbers kind of in front of you to decide what the 3-month plan is to see if you do need to hold on to a little cash. And if you don't, you should go ahead and pay those taxes because the IRS penalty and interest are high. They're higher than any kind of other money you could probably get from any other source. So I would not put them at the bottom. I would put them toward the top because you will pay for it.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think that leans on the first part of wisdom that you all said of, guys, you do have until July 15th, but get it over with so that maybe if you get your taxes done by the end of May, you've got June to think about it and you'll actually understand your cash position so that you can say, hey, okay, we're going to pay our taxes. We're not going to get the penalties. That's going to cost me more in the long run. And we're just going to tighten up in the other places where it's easier than having the government coming after us 6 months from now, basically.
Yeah. And it's just kind of everybody's bent, because the other thing is we have gotten confirmation that if they're in an active installment agreement, they're getting help with the payment on the installment agreement for it to be extended for a period of time. So I feel like from that standpoint, everybody's trying to be reasonable and understand that we've got to make some cash conservation moves so that the economy keeps going and that we'll deal with what's next when the what's next gets here. So if you do decide not to make it, then try not to spend it either, you know, unless absolutely necessary.
I think too, like just from a little patriotic viewpoint here, but also too, we have to remember, which we're going to talk about here in a second, the $2 trillion stimulus, what's happening for small businesses and entrepreneurs. But also, you know, our government right now is out and they're probably going to be building respirators and ventilators, and they're going to have to prop up the economy for 3 or 4 months. And if we can pay our taxes right now, we can do that. Like, we need to be, it's just like the economy works just through the government, just like it does through businesses. And we need resources. They're deploying National Guard to New York and places like that. Like our federal government has to keep moving too, right? And we have to remember that we're a part of that. And if we just hoard everything for ourselves, that's no different than not spending in the economy. You're still hurting yourself in the long run if you don't do that. You know?
Yeah.
It's a great way to look at it from the IRS standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. I mean, honestly, we're all in. I mean, the government has to run, the economy has to run, our households has to run. Our goal is to find the balance in all three of those things for ourselves in our position, you know? And
understand that we all have something to give in the process. If we're truly going to have the mindset of we're in this together, then everything we do, it's the other's first thing. Everything we do impacts someone else. And so it's really scary to do that because, you know, there's this fight or flight kind of thing that just naturally rises up in people, and then there's the freeze, like I'm just not going to do anything. So you know, and I think communities like the Flip Lifestyle community and what you're doing with the virtual summit, just to get the conversation going and to get perspectives out there, is really going to help people consider what other options there may be, because it's really hard to create or be strategic in a bubble.
Yeah. This is also so new. Like, this is something that there's no way that anyone ever could have anticipated something like this actually happening in real life. You know, so like we're all kind of learning on the fly. We just have to do our best.
Yeah.
So.
And I think the hope floats, the opportunity, I guess, in this whole situation is, Marilyn and I have talked about it extensively. If you're finding yourself, I call it the great equalizer. If you're finding yourself in this moment, this could be the opportunity where everything that was not going well could actually start to turn around really quickly and go right based on what decisions you make next. Because we're all in the same boat with the same paddle and the same depth of water.
Yeah.
And so that's what the great equalizer can do. It can truly be an opportunity. We don't have to slide back. We can actually swim forward. And Mike McCallowitz said in one of his things, like, I'm just not going to participate in the recession. And that's a strategic mindset too. So keeping that about you is really, really important.
Yeah, we had our best month of. I just also too, like, one thing we did immediately was focused on a lot of giving, but with giving comes a lot of emails, and we had our best month of emails in over a year. So there's a lot of progress and opportunity out there. But let's talk about the big point of view right now, which is about to happen this week. Is the stimulus package is about to start rolling out to small business owners. Okay, now I'm going to give you my ignorant understanding of what I've read, and you tell me all the things I'm wrong. That's my mission right now, guys, is to show how wrong I am and how right Jessica and Marilyn are.
Well, we'll just give you our Southern interpretation of what
we think
so far.
That's right. I want to. They're in Knoxville, Tennessee, too, y'all. So we speak the same language. We might have to interpret this in the forums. Okay. So what I'm seeing a couple different things. One, from a high level view, I see that they're going to help small businesses try to keep people. That's, I think, the goal. So there's this thing. There's two loans that I have seen, and I don't really understand the difference in there. There's the some kind of emergency disaster loan, which is like $10,000. But then there's something else that they're opening up soon, or might be open by the time you hear this, is this payroll protection loan, where they're going to basically look at your payroll, and you're going to say, okay, I got 5 people. These people are 1099s. These people are W-2s, whatever. These are my payroll. I need this much money. And and this is my monthly payroll, and they're going to give me 2.5 months of that, and then that will be forgiven somehow. So explain those two things for me. What is the difference between the two loans, and then what do I need to do as an entrepreneur to go out and protect my people? I mean, I got to keep people paid,
right? And
we got to make sure if there's a downturn, we've got money to do that. Like, what are these things that they're releasing out in the stimulus package for entrepreneurs and business
Marilyn,
owners?
can I just kind of talk about the framework of the aid packages, and then we can kind of dive into the particulars on these two areas? Would that be okay?
You go, girl. Yep.
Okay, so the first thing that I want to say is I want everyone to understand there were 3 aid packages, and it's to help both individuals and small businesses and healthcare workers. So the first aid package came through in the 1st of March. And the biggest benefit that the public received from that is that everyone who was in the field got funding to do the things that they needed to do. That was an $8.3 billion package. The biggest public benefit was we now have access to telehealth services because of that. Okay?
So that was for the healthcare industry,
and
right?
It was for us so that we could receive services through telehealth.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that we could break down the brick and mortar walls of people getting access to care, and that the people that were on boots on the ground taking care of people had the resources they needed to actually do that.
I went to the emergency room for when I got sick last week, and the doctor was on an iPad. The doctor didn't see me. It was 3 people in hazmat units and people, and then it was all telehealth, and I thought, wow, that was amazing.
Well, that was the first aid package, the Coronavirus Preparedness and Response Supplemental Appropriations Act. And the reason why the doctor could do that was because of that act on March 6th. So that's the first thing. The second thing that came through is the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And the reason why I want to talk about this first is because it has a little to do with the paycheck protection and the economic injury that you just mentioned. So this particular act was all about making sure that people who would get sick or families who would have individual disruption, like your kids coming home and now all of a sudden you're a homeschooling parent, they would have the protection that they needed to get paid sick leave or to get the family medical leave that they needed in order to take care of everything without being concerned about how am I going to make a living. There's also tax credits in that package. That's where the free COVID-19 testing came into place. There's also food assistance. So individuals can apply for temporary food assistance, like in the state of Tennessee, for example. You can apply through the Department of Health and Human Services and get up to 2 months assistance, and it's just basically based on your family size and if you were impacted. It was also the thing that came in to bolster up unemployment. So the next act was about taking care of individuals and families, meeting their basic needs, but it required things of employers in order to make that happen. And this is where a lot of business owners who have employees started to freak out, because it was like, how am I supposed to pay for this? How am I supposed to pay for 2 weeks paid sick leave or up to 12 weeks of family medical leave because my director of operations is now homeschooling her 3 children and there's revenue decline and I don't know what the future holds? Like, what am I supposed to do? But yet I'm federally mandated to do it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. Yeah.
But also in that Families First Coronavirus Response Act was the safety guidelines, this, that you needed to make a virtual migration and all those types of things. So that was about protecting the individuals. And that came pretty quickly, I think, on March 11th. So I just want people to understand there's actual individual assistance. It's at a federal level and a state level. And it's important to know what your rights are. And it's important for small business owners with employees to know what they need to do to comply. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes total sense so far.
Okay.
So that's the first 2 things right there, the medical one and then the family leave and things like that. Individuals and families. So then we have
the health insurance companies to pay for the testing without charging.
Right. And I think most of the big insurers too have said if you get it, all of it's going to be waived. But I think that wasn't mandated. That was just individual decisions by
and we'll find that out when the first claim gets processed.
Exactly. Right. You know what I'm saying? Well, let's hope for the best in the humanity in this situation. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that takes us up to
the CARES Act.
The CARES Act.
Yeah. The Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act. The interesting thing about this act is it actually started back on January 24th of 2019 to help repeal tax for the middle class related to health. And so then what happened is they pivoted this bill to mitigate all the economic impact of COVID, and it has tons of stuff packed into it, $2 trillion worth of stuff.
And I was confused by this. Did they already approve an extra $2 trillion in case they need it? They just have to. It seemed like there was something in there about $4 trillion too, like they could go back to it quickly or something like that. Like if
they might have. I mean, we've been combing over the text. There could be anything baked into that. I haven't necessarily seen that yet.
Okay, well maybe they were just talking about, hey, we're prepared to do it.
But it wouldn't surprise me because a lot of the SBA communications and stuff right there, the covered period, if you will, seems to be shaking out between February 17th to June 30th of 2020. Okay. So right now they're just kind of preparing for that period of economic disruption. Okay. And if it proves that it needs to extend, I'm sure they'll go back to the table and figure out what needs to be done at that point. Okay. But there's a lot baked into this package.
All right. So what's for small business owners? Tell me about the CARES package and how we should move toward it, and like what are the big packages they have for us?
Yeah. So 3 things with this. Okay. Number 1 is the recovery rebate checks for individuals. And so this is the individual household, which of course impacts the small business owner, and understanding that this provided economic stimulus to tax-paying individuals.
So they're going to mail, this is the checks they're going to mail to workers and everybody, basically.
Yeah. And basically the threshold is if you earned up to $75,000, you should get a $1,200 stimulus check. And if you filed your 2019 taxes, the plan as we know it now was for you to be able to receive direct deposit on that check if you had received payment by direct deposit. If you've not yet filed your 2019 return and they rely on 2018, then you'll get the check by mail. But I just heard today that the guy over the IRS, they're creating a website for people to update their banking information so they don't have a lot of checks swirling around. So more to come on that, and he's estimated that checks won't start to distribute until the middle of April. So that's going to take a minute.
So now you get there's also going to be checks in that delivered for each kid in the household too, and
your dependent children, $500.
Okay, and is there a cap per family?
I didn't see any caps in that. Did you, Marilyn? It
No,
was the dependent child.
Okay,
now,
good.
We can foresee, and they've discussed that if you have dependent children that's in that senior in high school to college age, are they really? It's about the children who get the child tax credit, right, Marilyn?
Right.
It's not about all dependents on your tax return. So yeah. I have a 19-year-old home, and I wish he was getting me a check, but he ain't going. he ain't gonna be. So just because you have a dependent on your return doesn't mean you're going to get $500 per dependent. It's going to be the $500 for the eligible dependent that you basically get child tax credits on when you file your return. Is that correct, Marilyn?
Yes, and that's even convoluted because you do get a tax credit on the older kids, but it's just not as much. So
yeah.
Marilyn, will that be taxable income next year?
Every indication is that is not taxable income.
Okay, good. That's good.
But they have been positioning it as like it's a credit against your 2020 return. So that walks a little bit different. But like Marilyn was saying, like we just don't know until they get all. Like this thing just passed on March 27th. It is March 31st today, and it's a humongous bill. So how it ends up shaking out, we'll know when the checks get sent. We'll know when the first loan gets approved. We'll know when the first lender ties on. We'll know all these things as we all walk through it together, basically. So this requires people to be incredibly patient and don't assume any conversation is a guarantee.
Right, for sure. And so for me, as a business owner, layperson, not someone who's coming over the bill like you guys are, just kind of glancing through all the articles. I'm getting the Cliff Notes version. Like here's the first thing I think before we even get to the economic aid and the payroll bill. Okay, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is good. Number one, my family is going to get some stimulus. Okay, so that's going to give me more cushion in my business to be able to pay my people, to be able to invest in ads, whatever. Two, my people are going to get these, right? So that's good. So I know they're going to have some money in their pocket right now. Okay. Right. So I'm starting now that you've told me this, I'm kind of adding that to my equation. I'm thinking, okay, I'm doing the math. Like, okay, well, I have someone that works for me, and she's got a husband, and they've got one kid, and then the other contractor that I'm working with, they're going to get this, and so that has to be counted in as business owners and leaders as we start thinking about our organization, our teams.
Yeah, and what we need to do as individual citizens is, the whole point is to keep the economy swimming. I'm going to keep saying that. And so it's a balance of what do I need versus what do I want, and it's a balance of let me invest in these small businesses. Let me, like the money needs to circulate.
So the goal here. So this is an interesting too. So I'm gonna just so there's different kinds of people in different situations right now. So if you're a restaurant owner, you're going out and spending money on groceries right now because you're going to get that money and be like, crap, at least I've got some money for groceries because your business is shut down,
Absolutely.
Now, but for us and for now, God forbid, like we're doing okay right now, not seeing a huge ripple yet in the online space that we're in. Okay. But I still, as a responsible citizen and business owner, need to be thinking about this stimulus as don't put that in the bank and sit on it as an emergency fund. The goal is to go to the restaurant and get the takeout. Go and spend it at the gas station. Call the contractor back you might have let go last week and hire them back for an ad campaign. Like that's the mission, is to spend this money that they're sending us.
These two aid packages, the first one that I talked about and this last one, the CARES Act, the whole point is to keep everyone as whole as possible so that mortgages and rent can be paid, that food can be purchased, that debts can be paid. The whole point is that people have the ability to do what they need to do to continue their life as much as possible in terms of the basics and the necessities and the obligations you've committed to.
Just to get us past this thing when the economy, then when we can all go back out again, everything opens back up, the economy will pick back up where it left off.
Yeah, and supporting small businesses, the economic reality, every session has told this story. There will be people that come out of this, there will be new businesses born from this, and then there will be people that just go away. And so we get to choose how that looks to some degree based on how we choose to invest the resources we've been given. So that's really the main tenet of understanding it's not free money. We're going to pay for it all at some point. But right now it's really like we got to keep this thing singing and swimming, and everyone needs to support everyone. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I went to a restaurant last night, and our favorite restaurant. You know, the restaurants here, my brother actually manages a fast food restaurant, right? And he said even though their window is still open and they're on the busiest intersection in the county they're in, they are down 40% right now. And then I talked to the guy last night that we get takeout from, and all the time. It's our favorite restaurant here in town. And I just asked him, I said, "Hey, look, how you doing?" You know, and he said, "Because last week the number was busy all day. This week I called and got in the first time, and I was like, 'Are you okay?' And he said, 'Oh man, it's slowing down big time.'" And that's because what happened 2 weeks ago when everyone started having to close, they are now running out of money, and it seems like they're stopping to call as much, you know. And
that's what I was saying earlier, like this could be the opportunity to, if you were, you know, we talked about this today in a meeting, like if you were struggling before COVID is going to make it really, really hard. But it doesn't mean that you don't have an opportunity here to kind of come out of this thing better. It just depends on what you decide to strategically do to make that happen.
Okay, so that's what's going to happen with families, the stimulus checks. Now tell me about the other two things, the economic disaster. I don't even know what they're called. There's a loan and there's the payroll thing. That's what I call it. So tell me about those two things and what they are and who should pursue them, basically.
Marilyn, why don't you take this, and I'll open it up by saying the SBA has several different types of lending and loan options. They have an SBA 7A loan. They have an SBA bridge loan. They have SBA express loans. They have SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan, EIDL. This is the thing that's circulating all over the place, and people are positioning it as a potential $10,000 grant. And then there's the Paycheck Protection Program.
Yeah, and that's the one I think is the most interesting so far, because it's very interesting how it's going to be used, it seems like.
And the Paycheck Protection Program was to meet the family's first criteria, you know, so I'll let Marilyn kind of take over from here.
The economic disaster loan, this part of the plan really opens up the SBA directly for people where, you know, initially you really had to go through a bank to get it. So every business owner, whether it's a sole proprietor, that's something new too. It doesn't have to be a formal entity, can apply for this disaster loan online. They've redone the process just in the last 2 days, so it's a lot more streamlined. It's pretty easy. I've done like 5 of them today. Okay, so you go on there, you fill out the information, and it's just the application. Okay, and we really, you know, kind of recommend every business owner do this because everybody's, you know, affected by COVID, and you can always decide not to accept the loan if it comes your way. Okay, so you're not married to the process.
This is now, the economic disaster loan, right?
The economic disaster loan.
Yes.
The IDL.
Now, part of that application process is the $10,000 grant piece. That allows you to potentially get a very quick $10,000 deposited into your bank straight from the SBA while they're processing the application. If they come back and decide not to give you a loan, like they've decided that you don't qualify for the loan, that $10,000 is yours. You don't have to pay it back. It's just the grant. Okay. If they offer you a loan at that process, the $10,000 is somewhat a part of that. Okay.
And the way Marilyn, they position that on the application as an advance, right? And you have to check a box to say you want to be considered for an advance, correct?
You can
Okay.
choose not to get the $10,000 if you want to, and still apply for the loan.
Okay, so
Okay.
let me just try to follow here. Okay, so I decide, okay, I'm going to go and get the $10,000 advance now as fast as possible. Okay, but I have applied for the payroll protection loan. Is that what you're talking about? Or
That's something totally different.
Something
Yeah,
totally
that's
different.
something totally different. So
Okay.
we're
Okay.
just
So this is
talking
one
about
thing right
this
now.
is one
Yes.
thing right now.
Okay.
And
And then
that's just the economic disaster. That's the $1 trillion package that they're going to be divvying out straight. SBA is going to decide that.
okay.
Yeah.
So
You
this
even
is
have
not
to-
involving my bank. This is
no,
me
this does
go
not
to
involve
the
your bank.
SBA.gov, click EIDL loan, fill out the application, put in my banking information. I've got some money to keep my business alive for a month. or whatever.
Potentially, because here's the thing about that economic injury disaster loan. It is based on credit. There are some loans that are not.
Okay. Okay.
So they are going to pull credit. They are going to determine credit worthiness. I have heard anecdotally through other bankers that unless you're sporting a credit score of 640 or higher, it's unlikely that you'll pass the credit worthiness test.
Okay.
And they've eliminated the credit elsewhere test, which is basically, do you have credit in other places? So it still requires credit worthiness, but they've eliminated the credit elsewhere.
So is that like if I've got like a huge credit limit at a bank or a line of credit or something like that?
Correct.
Right? But so this is everybody can still get it if your credit is good enough, right?
And
Now-
it's not a guarantee that you get that $10,000. And that's why we really want to kind of cut through the noise to say it's not a grant. I think that's an easy way for people to think it's a grant.
I got
It's an advance on a potential loan that you've applied for. And if that advance doesn't end up working out into a loan, then you could get that amount forgiven and not taxable to you.
So could.
Could.
So that 10, let's say that I go and get the advance, but so they're going to decide if you qualified for a grant or a loan, and they're going to make it be one or the other, basically.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the whole point of you doing this is because you intend to be considered for this loan. And one of the kind of benefits that they're trying to do to help put cash in the small business owner's hand, because it can take them up to 60 days to make a decision of what they're going to give you. But they're saying with this $10,000 advance, we're going to deposit money into your account within 3 days of the loan being applied for.
So could you actually apply for more than 10,000, but 10,000 is all they'll give you in the advance, or is 10,000 the cap?
You can't decide what the loan is for. They decide how much they're going to offer you.
So you go apply and tell them all your variables, and then they're like, okay, well, you might qualify for 20, but we're going to go ahead and give you 10 fast to get some cash.
Yeah, we're going to advance you 10.
I see. So I've been thinking this was capped at 10, period.
It's not a normal loan process. I think it used to be like a $350,000 EIDL limit, and they've raised the limit to, I think, like $1 million, right, Marilyn?
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that we have found out is, Marilyn, you're a restaurant owner, so Marilyn, she knows very clearly what's happening here. And we have discovered that if you're like a business that has multiple locations, each location should consider possibly applying for the loan.
Wow, that's really, because my dad's got 3 insurance agencies.
Mm-hmm.
Like 1, 2, 3. Like I didn't even think about that. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like they've got employees at each one, overhead at each one.
And the language I think reads, Marilyn, doesn't it read something like food services and some other, like the language was really specific. So I think they were really trying to help those business owners who had not necessarily multiple offices, but who had those restaurants and bars and pubs and those food service type businesses.
I got you.
And listen, I'm still trying to walk through it because I applied originally back on, before Friday, and I had to reapply because the new legislation actually passed. So I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But
the nutshell is you can get 10,000 up front, but you're going and they may give you a big loan to help you ride the whole storm out that you pay back, but the 10,000 could also be forgiven, right? So
well,
there's
it
there's a
could also
potential
be. There's
for
a
that.
potential for
There's
that.
a potential for it.
And here's the other part of the economic injury disaster loan. It's 3.75% interest up to 30 years.
Right.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. That's good.
Yeah.
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 I've never heard of any business type loan even sounding like that.
But
Not
they've been
close.
very specific in the language that you need to use this money for certain types of expenses to keep your business going. Pay your people, pay your rent, pay your utilities, pay your mortgage,
Right.
pay your fixed costs that currently exist in the business. We just had this conversation as a team today. This isn't money for you to go buy a vacation home with. Or this isn't money for you to start thinking of all the ways I can necessarily expand. This is about continuity and sustainability. And it's still debt. So now you got to cash flow that. So all of that has to be considered. But the good thing is if they make you an offer, you don't have to necessarily take the loan. What we don't know is if you don't take a loan, is the $10,000 still forgiven?
Yeah, that's confusing, Yeah.
Because they've been clear that if you're denied the loan, it could be forgiven.
Yeah.
But they haven't said what happens if they give you an offer and you decide not to take it.
Right. And I'd say there, and from a pure everybody being on the same page and being smart here, guys, it is a loan. I mean, I know they're going to grant some of it, but like I would anticipate paying it back, because they're going to want their money back. And when this is all gone and everybody starts humming again, they're going to be like, okay, so I know some of that was the grant, but this, like, come on, guys, pay up. I mean, I've never heard of the government not coming after their money eventually.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, I just really want your listeners in this community to know that we're not sitting here as accountants or business people spouting theory. We're walking through the same process you're walking through. We're just trying to stay a little bit ahead. So that we can help. And
you guys have employees, you guys have overhead. You got restaurants, you got other businesses. You're not just counting, everybody else's stuff. Like that's why I trust you guys so much, because you are an online business. You are an offline business. We
have a membership. We do. You have a membership. We see it everywhere. So, we're walking through the same thing everyone else is walking through, and then we're trying to ask the question: how can we serve to help make sense of things that don't make sense and navigate? We actually have just said it's a navigation process. And the first thing is you have to be strategic no matter the situation. So
do you think that it's this I've seen some people arguing online like, well, okay, well, my business is unaffected right now. Should I apply for this? Right. Or my business is heavily affected. I definitely need to go apply for it. Right. But I kind of am falling on the side of, think about life 3.5 weeks ago. It wasn't like this. Like there is no possible way. I don't care how good you're doing today. You cannot predict the ripple that's going to happen over the next 4 weeks. And I'm leaning heavily to everybody saying whatever they will do for you, we should probably do it right now. And we'll sort it out on the other side. Let's just be strategic, be responsible. But even if your sales are okay right now, if you've got payroll and you've got people that rely on you, this sounds like something that we all should probably go do as entrepreneurs, as business owners.
I agree. We had the same discussion earlier today.
We did.
And there are businesses in our area. We're in a safer at home environment.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that, like California, it's not going to be a total lockout. For which, maybe your business is doing well now, but it won't be doing well in 2 weeks.
We just had a travel advisory to Tennessee and Kentucky. Yeah. We have an executive order right now. We are not allowed to cross the border. So, I mean, how's that going to impact you guys? You know what I mean? It's all the people from Kentucky not coming down or whatever.
Well, and one of the things we brought up was it's really hard to say that every business is not on some level going to be impacted by COVID. Like, for instance, you're a small business person. What happens if you get sick?
I did last 2 weeks, and
exactly,
and it took us out. Exactly, I could not work for 5 or 6 straight days. I couldn't speak with a respiratory infection, and I don't even know if it was COVID because they wouldn't give me the test.
Right, and so, what happens if you have? And we're going to talk about the Paycheck protection. Marilyn's going to dive into that piece too. But what happens if you have employees that get sick, and then all of a sudden they can't work, and you still have to pay them, and then the work still has to get done.
Yeah,
So
and
then
they're
what?
not, and then you're not, and then if one of your team members goes down, you're not producing income that you use to pay them and fuel your investments. And
Yeah, and like Marilyn said, it's shelter is safer at home, but what if it becomes shelter in place? What if it becomes lockdown? What if these restaurants that can do to go all of a sudden can't do anything? You know, or these physical, like, who knows? We don't know. So
yeah, I actually told someone the other day, they were saying they were being very confident, which I'm all for being hopeful and confident and out front. But I honestly want to tell anyone who hears my voice right now, if you do not believe if you're so confident this ain't going to affect you, you are either arrogant, ignorant, or selfish at this point. Like it's just true. Like even if it was all not as true as everyone says it is, if 20% of the country is unemployed, your business will eventually feel it. And that's just the facts. So you need to be making some smart decisions, humble decisions, not business as usual decisions of whatever your political views are, because this is a big deal. It's it's the biggest deal we've ever experienced in our lives. So
and we've never gone through it before. So to suggest that we actually know how to maneuver through it or what's coming down, we don't know. One of my most favorite business books is Good to Great by Jim Collins, and he has that Stockdale paradox in his book, and it's basically like you have to confront the brutal facts and be realistic about what could go wrong, while still keeping hopeful and maintaining your optimism.
Exactly.
And so I think that's exactly what you were saying, is that to not prepare for, like we have 2 questions we've been asking inside our camp. Is this really necessary? So that might be a good question to ask. Should I apply for the EIDL? So ask yourself, is this really necessary? Well, if you haven't gone through those steps to answer that question, go through those steps. And then the next question, which I'll credit the high C cautious stabilizing accountants for, is what could possibly go wrong with this plan? You know, like what could possibly go? So ask those 2 questions. That's a great way to triage any decision you're going to get ready to make.
Yeah.
Is this really necessary, and what could possibly go wrong with this plan?
And I even have said we've clearly as a society seen what's necessary in the last 2 weeks, is because we've seen the businesses that states are allowing to stay open, you know. And I would even say, if you are not in one of those industries, you better be prepared for some serious income drop, because when people in 4 or 5, I think around May 1st, people are going to be looking at their budgets way different. And if you are not on that list, your service might be removed from that. Even online businesses, you know, because this is going to be everywhere in the country. So be prepared for that. And that might be one way you can prepare for that is cut expenses. And the other way is get on this loan and be prepared to have at least some more cash in the bank than you have now, so that you can keep people employed.
Yeah, and put it to the side. You can always give it back.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're so compelled, you can always give it back, you know, but cash is king. That's not going to go away.
Exactly.
So
I don't believe in credit cards. I pay them off every week. Y'all know, you see my stuff. But like, listen, we've got a lot of credit cards with a lot of credit, because I know that my business has to keep its DNA through any adversity. And like, if I have to, I'll put $100,000 on there to keep my business open. I got to, whatever it takes, you know?
Yeah.
So I at least like to know I have the backstop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I do that. So
yeah. And Marilyn, what else would you say about that, EGIT? I'm just trying to think, because you had a thing about churches and religious organizations, and
there was a lot of mixed signals about whether. I actually watched a webinar that said it did not cover religious organizations, but then I watched another webinar, a bigger webinar, that said it did cover religious organizations. So even in like my church, because I'm the treasurer of my church, I went and applied for the disaster loan, because contributions are crazy down, and the employees in that church, you know, they rely on those
churches
donations.
have payroll.
They have general overhead. They have expenses.
Yeah. And so I applied for the economic disaster loan for the church, and applied for the $10,000 advance on it. I'm doing all these things for even the church. And again, you don't know until that first thing comes through, either successful or not successful, exactly what they're allowing. But from what I understand, it's, and something else I did learn that, and this is speculation again, but I do believe that it's the case for next year, for 2020, every single individual that contributes $300 to a charitable organization will get an above the line deduction. It's not part of your itemized deduction. So that's an incentive for everyone to take what they have and contribute to these charitable nonprofits that are losing a lot of money.
Massive revenue. You know what I'm saying? I can't imagine.
They're also lifting the cap on the new limits for charitable donations inside the itemized deductions. So,
I read too in this that Trump may be trying to do this. They're trying to go back to the old way for businesses to expense meals and entertainment, where they can. I don't think this is passing this stimulus. Trump said it at his press conference on, I think, Tuesday, that they met with the restaurant associations and they are going to, in the next round of whatever they're doing, because when the economy opens back up, they want to really incentivize spending, right? So I think that they're going to try to get it passed where they go back to 100% eating out deductions for businesses. That would be amazing. You know what I'm saying?
It would be amazing.
Yeah. So all right. So I think that's a good job on the disaster loan. I think that's the most immediate thing all of us as business owners can do now. But what about, let's talk about the payroll thing. That's the one that's
Paycheck Protection Program.
Yes, the Paycheck Protection
Because
Program.
it's tied to Families First Coronavirus for the paid sick leave, and it's tied to the EIDL actually too, if you get that advance.
Okay, so from let me tell you my redneck layman's term,
give it to
trying to understand it.
Lay it down like the WWE.
That's right. Well, they can't even wrestle right now because they're all sick. There's no crowds in the stands. It's boring. I'm so sick of wrestling right now. I'm tired of it. I got to watch WrestleMania with no crowd this weekend. It's ridiculous. Okay. So the way I understand it, and I think the way most of my people I've been talking to, just general business owners, not you guys, who have been studying this, so that they look at February to February from 09 to 20. You figure out your payroll. You get an average. And then it's like you can apply for 2.5 months of that. Is that right? And then that does seem like it's completely, in every instance, going to be forgiven, right? Is that how you guys are reading that? Or are we all just brain dead and wrong on this? I don't know.
No, you're mostly right. Okay. You're mostly, and jump in here, Jess, if I'm saying anything wrong, but yes, you determine what your payroll is pre-coronavirus. So it's not, I don't even know if it's the average of the year before. It might just be for
your
right
average.
before.
Yeah.
And it's 2.5 months basically is what they're fronting you for a payroll protection loan.
So if I get if I have $10,000 in payroll, I would get $25,000 basically, is how that would work. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but part of that is it's not just your W-2 employees. It could also be your independent contractors.
That's amazing. That's incredible.
A big piece, yeah.
And so the Paycheck Protection is a loan up to $10 million and the average monthly payroll of 2.5 times.
Okay. Okay. Now
so that's the first piece.
So what if this happens? What if I get the EIDL and I get the $10,000? Forget what I get approved for, but then I get this. Can I get this in addition to it, or do they take $10,000 off? Are they together? Like, does anybody know?
Yeah,
you got to treat them separate at first. Okay, so you got your disaster loan, and then you've got your payroll protection loan. You get your loan, and this can only be done through the bank. Okay, it's still SBA backed, but you have to apply for it through the bank. Most of the banks are getting SBA approved to do this, but SBA also has their list of approved banks. Okay. I've heard and probably do feel like that you should go to your bank first because that's where you have a relationship. But if they're, if they're not in the program or don't want to, don't understand it, you can also go through the SBA loan bank list to get that. Okay.
Okay.
So you need to have that conversation first, because a lot of the banks, they aren't even set up to do this yet.
Oh, I know my bank. I got money in 2 banks, and I got buddies in both because it's a small town, baby. You got to call somebody.
Yeah.
And but my guy was like, yeah, we're doing it. We don't have all the information yet. Basically,
Well,
is
and
what he's
even the
telling me.
SBA website said it could take up to 30 days for the Paycheck Protection Program through their lending community to actually be solidified. So,
Okay.
And I went ahead and put my name on the list. It's like, okay, but when you get it, call
Exactly.
me,
That's what I told him. I said the minute he even gave me a list of things he's guessing they'll ask, just so I can be prepared to do it. You know what I'm saying? If I want to.
You'll need documentation as far as what your payroll is. Okay. So,
well, and that's the other thing. That's the other thing. It's not based on credit worthiness.
no, it's not.
And it's unsecured from what I
Yeah,
hear.
it's 100%
personal
back,
guarantee.
no personal guarantee.
Gosh.
If you don't get loan forgiveness, and but for whatever reason, because it's again a could be, and if that doesn't happen, they can't charge more than 4%. You get up to 10 years to pay it.
And let me tell you these little caveats for forgiveness. Okay.
Yes.
One is you've got to ask for it. Okay. So after the 2.5 months, you have to ask for it. And then you'll have to prove that you spent that money on payroll, utilities, rent, these approved. This is why they're doing the loan, right?
Yeah.
So if you can substantiate that is what you used the money for, then every indication is all of it will be forgiven.
Yeah, that's why I actually, so I normally bank at one bank with our business where our profit first accounts are, right? And I told Jocelyn, I said, well, I'm going to protect our people no matter what. We're going to do this. And I went to another bank that I know is going to do it, because that I was going to actually just use that to pay expenses for a while, and then I've got all my documentation in one place. Because I'm profit first. I got to have 47 bank accounts.
Yeah.
That's how it works. You know what I'm saying? I got to prove everything. I got to show it all, man.
Yeah.
Behavior, baby, behavior. And okay, so
and that brings in the accounting and bookkeeping question. Like, you cannot be financially unorganized dealing with this stuff, because you will limit any benefit you have the potential of getting because you can't produce the documentation. The other part of this process is we're even advising people for you to line item or push out those expenses related to coronavirus. So, like, it's not business as usual on your chart of accounts and in your accounting system. Start now indicating costs related to COVID disruption, or expenses during the COVID pandemic and things like that. Like,
would it even be good? I don't know how what about drops in revenue? Would that be figured out anywhere, or would it just show up at the end of the paper?
Well, that's going to show up at the end of it, but they're kind of, what was it they were doing, Marilyn? They were what was your revenue this same time last year to determine how you were impacted this year? Well, if you don't have good records, like, a lot of times we'll get people that'll come to us and, like, here's my lump sum. They don't necessarily know what the revenue was in this quarter and this month and all that kind of stuff. Because they're going to make you measure the period. So if you don't have the accounting or the knowledge based on the period, then you're going to have trouble substantiating your impact on revenue.
Absolutely.
And if you've messed this up in the past, you better do it going forward to get all this right. Like, right now,
that's the great equalizer conversation. Now's the time. Like, I hope what happens is there will be another thing. There will be another thing. This won't be the only thing we ever go through in our lifetime. There will be another thing. And so here's the opportunity to say, when the other thing comes, I won't ever be in this position again.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. I got a couple of follow-up questions. Okay. Because this, first of all, as an entrepreneur listening to what you're telling me, here's what I hear. Okay. I should immediately go to SBA.gov and apply for the EIDL $10,000. And then I should immediately call my banker or my bank who is going to do the payroll protection thing to be prepared when it's open and ready to go. I should probably go do both. Like today, I should fill out the SBA thing as a business owner and get the EIDL protection or thing advance. Get in the system for that. Let that start working. Then pick up the phone and call my bank and say, hey, whoever I talk to at my bank, I want to do the payroll protection program because I have employees and I have 1099s and I got to take care of them. So these are two separate paths, but leading toward the same goal of maintaining cash flow over the next 2.5 months. Basically.
Yes.
Correct.
And on the advance for the EIDL loan, if you get the $10,000 advance, for example, and you get denied and there's no loan or what have you, or you get the $10,000 advance period, when you get the Paycheck Protection Program loan, that $10,000, like, you don't get a forgiveness of the 8 weeks of payroll plus the $10,000. They're going to credit the $10,000 off the 8 weeks of forgiveness if you get it.
Gotcha. So basically, if I was going to get 30, they already gave me 10. Now I'm going to get 20. But right. I want to go get the 10 as fast as possible to keep the doors open. I mean, that's how we got to say it.
And let me talk about something else regarding paycheck protection and what you decide to do, because when you're dealing with contractors and employees, it's very important that you don't play favorites and you make a decision, and for each class you mitigate that across the board. So in the CARES package, there's also what's called pandemic unemployment assistance. So for the first time ever, independent contractors, self-employed individuals, they actually have the opportunity to file for unemployment. And for the first time ever, the federal government is adding a bump to the standard state unemployment for those who have been furloughed or laid off or have applied for unemployment assistance because they are a self-employed person. So I don't necessarily think, I think that here's where the opportunity is. Even though we can fund the independent contractor through our business, if we deem that a business decision is, for right now, we can't commit long term to this expense, you know, could you be potentially knocking a self-employed person out of the ability to get additional revenue, but beyond that 8 weeks? Okay, so your Paycheck Protection Program is only 8 weks. Unemployment is 26 weeks if it's and then they've added an additional, I think, 13 weeks on top of that. Okay, and then they've added a $600 bump per week on top of the state, and each state varies.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of big decisions to process around how are we going to do this.
Yeah.
And so there is a rush to, like, let's take care of each other. It's like, how can we all be taken care of? Because there's lots of ways people can be taken care of right now.
So what you're saying is, what I'm hearing is, let's say that it would, as a business owner, one, I got to take care of my main people first. The
W-2 employees.
The W-2 employees first, then the contractors. But at the same time, I could also educate them of, hey, look, I can't keep this expense because revenues drop so much, but you can go do the unemployment now. So go do that and keep your business intact, and we'll circle back around at the end of this. You know?
And remember, unemployment could be reduction in hours. You know, there could be a lot of things that trigger it. And there's also a temporary 2-month food assistance programs. Like, it's a lot to navigate. I'm sorry, Marilyn, I cut you off. So.
Well, I've had a couple clients say, well, which should I do? Should I do unemployment or the payroll protection? Because that's a legitimate question. Because if you do unemployment, then you don't have that payroll in which to incorporate through the payroll protection loan. And honestly, you don't even really know yet, because you don't know what the payroll protection is. You can kind of guess, you know, you can run your numbers, but it might be that your employees, depending on how much impact this has on you, it might be that your employees are better off going unemployment. So just because you want to take care of your employees, you really have to kind of lay it out on the table and be strategic with it.
As a self-employed person too, so Jocelyn and I are on salary because the way we file our taxes, right? So my payroll counts toward the payroll protection, even though I'm the owner of the bit now. But flow through income and anything else doesn't count toward it, right? It's only what you show on W-2s and things like that, correct?
Well, the whole self-employment piece, like for sole proprietors who don't have a W-2, right? They don't have a W-2, so they actually get that whole flow through number.
Right.
So it's either or maybe a combination of both.
We won't know until the first unemployment check gets sent out.
I know, right?
That's right.
So that's interesting. That's interesting though,
Kind of-
because it is kind of gray.
It
Right?
is
Like-
very gray because the way it's written, it's almost like you could get if you're self-employed and you file, it's
Mhm.
almost like you're going to get it all.
I know,
I mean, if
right?
you look at it.
I think that part I was reading too was it capped though at like $199 a family or something like that, like or something like
Well, I know
that.
the payroll protection piece, you couldn't, you were capped at 100,000.
Yeah.
You know, you can't.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. If you're
assistance
compensated, yeah.
for, yeah,
Right.
But you can't
or
also
payroll
make,
above 100.
yeah, and you can't also make a more than 25% reduction in salary, and your head count matters. So
Yeah.
all of that stuff factors in.
Right.
This is fascinating. I mean,
I
it's
know.
just now. Here's another question I've got. I'm just those curveballs out at you since we're getting it. This has been amazing though too. I'm going to share this today. I'm not going to wait to put y'all on. Like I got to get this. I'm just going to release this as a podcast tomorrow. I'll share it. I want this conversation to be everywhere because it's really important, you know. But like, so here's another thing. I just hired our biggest hire ever in February. Okay. But she couldn't start. Her job right now, she couldn't get out of contract until April. So she's going to be coming on to payroll, and it's going to be probably the biggest expense we've ever had in our company outside of me and Jocelyn, you know?
Right.
So like, how does that figure in? Like, do I tell hey, like I want to make sure for the next, she's coming on brand new. If the economy crashes, she just left her job to work for us. I mean,
based on the guidelines, I don't think she would be a part of the calculation
Exactly.
for the payroll
Yeah.
protection.
but what she would be, I'm guessing there might be a second round of this because if it's going to go to June to July, then it would just come into then. And again, right now we're cool. So like I could just take that and that would just be the backstop for everybody.
And the other thing is, like Marilyn said, that's the Paycheck protection is going to be through the SBA lenders. And if you're using bankers who you have a relationship with and things like that, and you can tell the story because
Right.
part of the whole thing is job creation and job retention. So the fact that you're able to retain or create positions even, I mean, those things deserve equal representation in the story.
Well,
So-
I think the reason they're going through the local banks too is because they're the only people that can possibly understand an individual business owner's decisions. And you've got that relationship with a human that you can go in and say, hey, I've got X person coming on. Let's just put that in there. And if they come back and tell me I owe that part and they don't forgive it, screw it. At least I kept their job, you know? So maybe that will be a part of it. I mean, it sounded like to me, the guy, he was like, yeah, I think you just come in and tell us what you want and we approve it or we don't. Like, that's what it's unsecured. That's crazy. Like, who knows? This is insane. Like, what? It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
And so it's just kind of important, you know, to just understand what you're kind of committing to and what life looks like once you have that debt, if you're not used to carrying debt or if you have existing debt. You know, it's just really important to weigh all those things out. Now, you're really great about moving all your eggshells around, Shane. Like, we are part of your team, but you're being a mental money ninja all by yourself too. So
yeah, I'm trying I'm just trying to have backups to the backups to the backups. Then you know, because I think one of the best things I heard about all this was this. Okay, look. One, no one is dealing business with usual, at least for the next 90 to 120 days, period. Whatever playbook you think you know and all those personal development books you've read, it's different right now. And like the most important thing is that as a company, you are the same DNA on the coming out of this. You may have lost a limb in the war, but guess what? You have the same DNA when you come out of this. And all these other issues, we'll sort out the math, we'll sort out the stuff. But as a company, the most important thing on the other side of the economy right now is our companies still exist. We still employ people, and we can all return to normal, whatever that new normal looks like. And that's kind of how I'm viewing it strategically for anybody that's interested is I want to make sure that everybody that counts on me, whether it's my membership community or my 1099s or employees or you guys or anybody I work with, we all are the same coming out of this. That's my number one mission. So if I've got to take additional risks right now, if I've got to do things I normally wouldn't do, I'm doing it because I'm not going quietly into the night COVID-19.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think if we all just kind of take each step and use whatever. And also, too, I want to talk about stigma. Look, I don't care what your political views are. I don't care what you think about people that get government assistance, unemployment, loans, debt, whatever. The word stigma has been emptied from our verbiage for the next year. Get rid of it, whatever it takes. Any resource you can take to take care of each other, take care of people, and not take advantage of the situation should be done right now. Forget the stigma, whatever it takes. Let's all survive this.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that is I think, Marilyn, wouldn't you agree? That's a sharing of our own vision too. Like, it's going to be different, but it's going to be okay, and we will get through this if we get through this together. And we really do have to stay in an others first frame, and we are part of it too. But if we all kind of just do that, then we'll get to the other side, and what's on the other side could be better depending on how we respond today.
Oh, yeah, I've seen so many good things coming out of people during this time. It's been very encouraging. So if we can also focus on, those things and kind of paying it forward, we'll get through it. It's not going to be necessarily easy, but we'll get through it.
Love it. Yeah. Well, listen, I know I'm going to get through it because I got you guys on my team.
That's right.
That's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean?
and we've got each other, and we are trying to put together the COVID resources we talked about on the page that we mentioned to you.
Okay.
ProfitHero365.com/COVID.
Say that one more time. Say that one more time.
ProfitHero365.com/COVID.
Okay.
So we'll give you the link to that, and we're going to try to just keep materials updated there and things like that, and try to see what we can do to contribute to cut through some of the noise, because right now it just seems like all the articles are like free money, and we're trying to just
it's got a high level decisions, but you know what? It's free money for a while. Yeah. it's at least fast money if it ain't free money. So if you're struggling right now and you need it, go get it.
Yeah.
So ProfitHero365.com/COVID. Okay. All right. So I'm going to put that link in everywhere that I share this, and then tell everybody where they can go to find you guys too
well, that's the best place, I think.
Okay, so just go there. We'll just forget about it.
Just go there, because that's the resources and the things people are wanting to talk about. Something we didn't touch on today is sales tax with states. So if anyone listening has sales tax things, states are giving relief related to sales tax, but the bills still do. Yeah. And things like that. And then if you have employees, getting guided HR support and things like that is really important. There's labor posters. Even if you're a virtual business, you need to send this poster to them by email, and you have some responsibilities as an employer to get in front of people to comply. Okay. So all of those things are really important in the process. All
right. So what we'll do is we're going to send everybody there. That is the only place I will be going anymore to find out anything about this tax stuff is ProfitHero365.com/COVID. And I just want to say, guys, that I love you guys. I really appreciate you for coming and spending some time with me today, helping me understand this, because I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and also helping just anybody, any business owner out there that hears this. So Jessica, Marilyn, you guys are amazing. I appreciate you, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, that wraps up my interview with Jessica Stafford and Marilyn Parham from ProfitHero365.com/COVID. I want you to go to ProfitHero365.com/COVID right now. They are going to be updating that resource every time they learn a single fact that they didn't have the day before, or if anything changes. They're changing the legislation almost every day to try to work out how they're going to implement, how they're going to actually be able to go out and execute this stimulus package. And you want to be up to date on that information. So head over to ProfitHero365.com/COVID and check out everything that Jessica and Marilyn are putting out there. It's all free. It's all resources for their clients and any business out there that needs help. This is brick and mortar business, online business, offline business. It don't matter what your business is. They are going to have the information that you need so that you can make good decisions and you can go and get that support. Listen, there's no stigma right now about anything in the world, guys. There are millions of people that are on unemployment right now. There are millions of businesses out there that are struggling as we all go through this pandemic together. Listen, none of us alive have ever been through a global pandemic or a global catastrophe like we are going through right now. This is an unprecedented, unique event, and all of our old beliefs and all of the old systems that we've been working on are thrown out the window right now. Your goal right now is to keep your business alive, to keep your business going, to start a business and survive and thrive, to take care of the people that you have on payroll, whether that's yourself and your spouse or your kids or a W-2 employee or a 1099. It doesn't matter. We are all in this together. We're all on the same boat. Everybody in the world, not just here in the U.S. right now, and we have got to band together as people, as entrepreneurs, as a society, and we've got to make sure that when we get to that light at the end of the tunnel, things are rebuilt the same as they were when we entered into the tunnel. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. There is another side to this pandemic. There is another side for your business, and I know things might be hard right now, but hang on tight. Lean into these resources that we're giving you here on the podcast and that Jessica and Marilyn are giving to you over at ProfitHero365.com/COVID, and use these resources that are available to you in your business to take care of your people, to take care of your customers, to take care of your families. We love you guys. We are praying for every single person that hears our voice on the podcast, on our Facebook page, on our YouTube channel, on our blog. And know this: you are not alone. We are going to keep bringing you powerful resources and inspirational stories every chance we get over the next few months, and we would love to connect with you online. So if you need anything, head over to fliplifestyle.com. Shoot us an email over on the contact form if you just need somebody to listen to you. Follow us over on Facebook, facebook.com/fliplifestyle. And don't forget, we are doing a live virtual summit right now. You can hang out with us in that group, and we're bringing to you the best of entrepreneurial interviews right now so that you can grow personally and professionally during these crazy, crazy times. It's going to be okay. We've got plenty of resources that we can use, guys. Let's go get them. Let's take care of our people, and let's get through this together. We'll see you next time.